Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX, and it is time for the daily video. I hope you guys are having a great week. It's been a little bit of a choppy week. There's been a lot of up and down activity, but we have some really interesting, good setups to talk about today. You can see that we just had the FOMC statement, and the Fed kind of holds the stimulus as is, but definitely this is an important part right here. They mentioned that they were ready to reduce or increase the QE on this round if need be, but they did also mention that the labor market, despite despite some of the numbers we've seen, that the labor market is improving. So that is possibly going to translate into a little bit of dollar strength because that could mean the closer, nearer end of this QE infinity as they're calling it. Okay, so there was our statement. We've seen ISM, which came out basically in line with expectations. We had the ADP employment change, which came out just a little bit lower than expected. And so news has kind of been a little mixed and matched here. Going into tomorrow, this is going to be the big thing that we need for direction on the euro dollar, and that is this little guy right here, ECB press conference. It's been a painful week, literally waiting for this, but that's going to be big news there. Also, the interest rate for the European Eurozone is expected to go down by a 0.25%. It could go by a half. We'll see how it goes, but that's going to be a big day for the euro tomorrow. Speaking of the euro, here's what we have that's interesting on this pair. Number one, we have very regularly seen all time, or not all time, but big highs and big lows in the first day of May. And it's just interesting that the euro dollar has rallied right up to R3 and up to the 50% fib on May 1st, and it's coming off of that level. We couldn't even get an open above the 50% fib on the 1 hour chart. Much less any other chart. And now we're seeing that this might signal some bigger potential downside here on this euro dollar. From our big run here with the high in February and the low going down to about the 1st of April, this was a pretty good sized run that we had right there. That was just about 1,000 pips over a 2-month period, and then it's been trying to come back ever since and make this move higher. And now it looks like we might get a shooting star on the daily chart to close. And we came back and just tested that 50% fib of this range right here, and that could very likely be very potentially be a high that is ready to start coming down and giving us some reversal here. So we're going to keep an eye on that. That would still basically keep intact this weekly channel head and shoulders pattern. So I'm not totally sold on the fact that the euro dollar is going to sell off, but I think it is a much stronger possibility than it was before. We have a missed daily pivot right here, so this is kind of an obvious target coming up shortly, for some move down. So, with stops above the highs or just even at this 50% fib, we should see a nice little run into that missed daily pivot that's about 50 pips below. What I'm going to look for and what I'm going to watch for here is I think a break of probably 131.20 would get me really short on the euro dollar, and that's a couple of pips away at this point. And I think that's definitely a possibility. But I'm just going to kind of watch this euro dollar. I'll have details coming. I'll keep everyone updated on Twitter, in the chat, daily videos, and so on. But I think it's going to be an interesting move here. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not ready to say exactly what I'm going to be doing. But the fact that it has turned down lower from the 50% fib and R3 on the first day of May tells me that we could very easily see a big sell-off here on the euro dollar coming up for the month of May. So I'll just keep you guys updated on that as best I can, but just know that I'm kind of waiting, watching, ready. Pound dollar is a very interesting one. The pound dollar has done a very similar thing. So euro dollar on this big run down from here, we saw that it's just tested the 50% fib and turned down in a big way. Pound dollar has done the same thing. We have this big run down here, which happened kind of over the same period and had a little bit of a further residual low here into the month of March. And it has retraced up in this channel right here perfectly into the 50% fib, into the 200 moving average, and into this big trend line that it's broken out of. It got pretty close to testing that and kind of touching that. And we got to the top of this little channel. So Pound dollar may also have a shooting star on the daily chart. We'll see how that closes in the next several hours, a couple of hours actually. It's not even too many hours out. So this is also looking pretty bearish. I mean, by a pip, it hit that 50% fib and it's been turning down. So you can see that we have a little bit of a trend line right here that I'm looking at, and that I think we're going to be able to potentially see a break of. And we're just sitting right at that trend line. So excuse me. So we can we can watch this trend line, and I think this is probably going to be a good area to look for a break. This puts us right back below about 155.60-ish or so. In breaking that trend line, I think we have an easy target of the 200 moving average in the weekly pivot, which is 145 pips. I'll take that. And then beyond that, we have a missed pivot over here, which is 160 plus pips away from Friday. And we have another missed pivot back here, which is 290, almost 300 pips away from Thursday. So good stuff happening here. The pound dollar, I'm much more bearish, just because we're just testing and sitting right at this high, and I really like what this looks like. So I think we have a good opportunity to start shorting this thing into some of these levels. So it's really going to be kind of a break of this trend line, break of this area, break of about 155. 50-60 area, but so far it looks like about 155.60 could be a good spot to start shorting this, but we're going to have to wait and see just a little bit. But that's kind of what I'm looking for, with stops just above that high, which is 156.05. So we need stops of about 156.10 and an entry of probably 155. 60, and then I think we have, it's about 50 pips worth of stop, but as you can see, our first initial target is double that, and we go all the way to triple that for some of the next targets. So I think the risk reward is definitely there on that pound dollar, and liking what that's looking like. The Aussie dollar has continued to sell off like crazy. This thing is really making a crazy run. And so you can see the last day of April, first day of May, kind of just about double top there, just shy of a double top. And it has just been tanking ever since. So nice breakouts there, nice little moves. The Aussie dollar has been a little unclear on direction lately, but we may start to see a little bit of clarity finally. You can see on this weekly chart, it's just been totally consolidated for months and months and months. Hopefully we start to see that movement, and we get that run down below parity, which is what I'm currently looking for on the pair. So looking good on that Aussie dollar. No specific entry just yet. I will update on that as we get closer. I just don't think we have an entry quite yet there. So we'll talk about that as we go. Euro yen. The euro yen has been a very interesting one. I'm still talking like crazy about the 128, 80, 90 area, and we tried to break it and then test it, and we've tested it again, and we're just kind of all over the map right here. So this is a good area in my opinion still to short against, but it's going to be too tough to do anything too far ahead of the ECB news, which is coming out tomorrow. So it's probably going to continue to chop around, but I still do like the euro yen against 128.80, and you can see that we're already about 60 pips or so off of that, 55 pips off of that level. So it's starting to sell off pretty nicely, and I think that we'll see some decent movements from this euro yen. So again, I like being short against 128, 80, 90 area, and as long as it stays below that, I think we'll probably see some bigger movements to the downside. You can see how we're kind of channeling in here nicely, and I think we're going to be able to get some pretty good breakouts and some pretty good continuations down there. So we'll see how that goes. And we've been watching the Aussie yen like crazy as well, and I like the Aussie yen. I'm short Aussie yen against 100.30. As long as we stay below 100.30, I think we have big potential for breakouts. And you can see here on our daily and on the 4-hour chart and so on that this Aussie yen is really kind of channeling in here nicely. We've just broken this support. And I think we're going to be able to see some big downside potential here on this Aussie yen down into 90, 96, 97 area and beyond. So Aussie yen's looking great. So we have some really nice trades playing out. Again, short Aussie yen against 100.30, short Aussie or euro yen against 128. 80, 90 area, and then looking to short pound dollar against 156.05, and euro dollar just holding for the moment. So we'll see how that all goes. But we have some great setups. Really looking forward to some of the movements we have coming up for the pre-summer movements. May is usually a huge month, and I think we're going to have some really great pips. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope to see you all in the chat. Best of luck, everyone, and keep an eye on Twitter.